Welcome to this lesson of the course Ancient Indian Management. In this lecture, we are going to understand what is Code of Conduct of Jain philosophy. Codes of conduct or codes of behavior are designed to anticipate and prevent certain specific types of behavior, for example, conflict of interest, self-dealing, bribery, or any inappropriate action in the society or in the economy or in the businesses. Jain Code of Conduct focuses on the do-nots rather than on affirmative obligations. That is why the aticharas and their application in the daily life is emphasized so much. These aticharas detail specific actions in which one is not to get engaged. In the previous video lecture, we understood Yama and Niyama as the two practices of yoga given by Patanjali, which establish the ethical guidelines, or in simple words, do's and don'ts of life. Yama stands for don'ts and Niyama stands for do's of life. This all we have discussed in the previous lecture. All the 5 yamas are reflected in the Jain philosophy as it is, just that they have been named as Vrata in the Avashyak Sutra, meaning the essentials to do. Niyamas are not found in the Jain philosophy as it is, but yes, the concept of do's and don'ts is found in terms of atichara of these 5 vratas, violations of these 5 vows. Jains also promote the practice of non-violence, truthfulness, celibacy, non-stealing and non-possessiveness under the concept of 5 vows, and this creates the basis of right living and a sound society. We need to understand the vratas and aticharas. First is the vow of non-violence, that is named as Vrata in Jainism and Yama in Hinduism. The practitioner criticizes himself if he committed any flaw or made lapses in observing first minor vow of non-violence. He analyzes his actions, both physical and mentally, and tries to assess. I hurt someone by tying him tight, bandhe. Second is vahe, if I inflicted pains and injuries to someone. Third is chaviche, if I injured someone physically or cut some part of the body. Fourth is aibhare, if I overloaded someone with workload or weight, etc. Then fifth is bhattapandiche, if I stopped someone from taking food and water. After this he prays to the God to dissolve his sins. So we see that the definition of the term ahimsa has not changed in Jain philosophy. But the 5 don'ts, 5 aticharas attached with this term make it practical in terms of business ethics and moral code of conduct. If we apply these 5 violations of the first vow ahimsa on the employees of the organization, it gives us 5 don'ts in the organization, right? And surprisingly, this interpretation matches with the modern HRM principles. For example, the term bandhe. We see that there was one type of employees in the ancient economies, that is bandhua labor, meaning employees are not free if they work for you. If we talk about the second atichara, vahe, this hints at the employee security in the organization. In the ancient era, there was the law of cutting body parts of the criminals. Perhaps this atichara hints to stop such practices in the legal environment. The fourth violation, aibhare. This deals with workload of the employees. This is a rule of HRM, not to give excess workload to the employees. The fifth violation speaks about the appropriate time for food and water breaks. Also, if the food and water etc. is being provided by the employer, then there should not be any gap. Next is truthfulness, the second vow of the Jains. The 5 violations of this vow are sahaspakhane, if I blamed somebody without giving him any chance of clarification. Second is rahaspakhane, if I exposed some secret between 2 or more people who wanted to keep it a secret. Third kind of lie is if I exposed my spouse in front of others. Fourth is mosawaise, if I preached wrong philosophies. And fifth is kudlehe karne, if I wrote or published articles either on wrong philosophy or maybe a false kind of document has been produced by me. First violation of the vow of truthfulness forbids us to tell any lies which are spoken all of a sudden. This forbids useless talks between the employees, which leads to conflict management. Second violation stops any kind of leakage of data from the organization. This is the most important need of today's corporates. This includes any kind of information that travels outside the organization and also the information that is to be kept secret inside the organization. Next is mosovaise. Under this fourth violation of the vow of truthfulness, any kind of written lie is also prohibited. If this is followed strictly, then there will be no false documentation in the economy and we can expect a transparent economy emerging. And fifth is Kood Leh Karne. This kind of violation is going to stop any false documentation in the world economy and we can head towards an ethical business world. Third vow is non-stealing. This is also known as Asteya, Achaurya or Adattadan. Adattadan exactly means not taking anyone's possessions without his or her permission. First violation is Tenahade. Tenahade is purchased or took stolen goods. Second is Takkarapoge, helped someone in stealing or helped in a theft. Third is Viruddharachayikamme, if I acted against the laws of the state. Fourth is Kuditullu Kuddamane, that is measured or weighed wrongly. Then next is Tapadiru Bhagavhare, which means I mixed low quality goods with finer goods and sold them at the rate of finer goods. These 5 violations of the vow of non-stealing, if interpreted in terms of businesses, they will become the elements of the modern ethical business management. This vow eradicates the possibility of thefts and heads towards peaceful society and a transparent economy. Third violation of Viruddharachayikamme includes fantastic controlling element of business controls by the government because it demands the practitioner not to go against the rule of the state. Then the fourth violation, Kudutullu Kuddamane, clearly tells the practitioner to measure and weigh correctly, so any malpractice in the selling business can be stopped with this kind of application of the Vrata of non-stealing. Then the last, Tapadiru Bhagavhare, any kind of mixing of lower quality goods with the finer quality goods is not allowed. Fourth vow for a Jain follower is Brahmacharya. It is considered to be similar to celibacy, but actually it should mean going near the God. When a body is engaged in bodily relationship, then it goes away from the God. First is Ittariya Parigahya Gamne. If I was engaged in extramarital relationship with someone else's spouse. Second is Aparigahya Gamne. If I was engaged in extramarital relationship with an unmarried man or woman. Third is Ananga Krida. If I was indulging in illicit sensual activities. Fourth is Parvivaha Karane. If I was involved in matching the wedding relationships of others other than my son and daughter, of course. Fifth is Kambhog Tivabhilase. If I was indulging in intensifying desires of passions. This vow of celibacy can protect women at her workplace. Such a safe environment for women will create a sound culture in the organizations. And we see that this vow will ultimately lead to character management. It will lead to self-management. It will also give us a new kind of management in the organization, that is social relationship management. And this is how the fourth vow of Jains is going to help the businesses. The fifth vow of Jains, same as the fifth yama, limiting your possessions. This is the Vrata. There are 5 violations, 5 aticharas. First is Khittavatthupamanaikame, that means you have to limit your kshetra and vastu. Kshetra is land and objects. Second is Hiranna Suvarnappamanaikame, that means you are supposed to limit the possession of gold and silver that you possess. Third is Dhan Dhanappamanaikame, that means the wealth and the food. This is not to be accumulated with you. Fourth is Doppe Choppaipamanaikame. In the modern world, we can understand it as 2-wheelers and 4-wheelers. These vehicles are not to be accumulated by the practitioner of these vows. And then last is Kuppapamanaikame, that means the low cost metals are also not to be accumulated. See how beautifully they have given you the system of resource management. When we talk about the 5 N's, we see all the 5 N's in this diagram. The Kshetra and Vastu, land and objects, Hiranya and Suvarna and Dhan, that is your money. Beautiful system of resource management has been given in this 5th vow of non-possession. So my dear learners, this way we have seen how Jainism or Jain philosophy deals with the code of conduct. So this is all for the lecture today. Thank you for being with me. See you in the next lecture.